AITA for telling my parents I hope their decision haunts them in death. My twin and I are the oldest of 5 siblings, all in our 20s. Our parents have always called me the good son and I've always looked out for my siblings. This includes my twin. My twin is the kind of person who can't hold a job, but it's never his fault despite constantly calling out and faking illness. He always takes but never gives back. You get the picture. But we always just brushed it off as he's family. I, however, stopped with the enabling behavior. Recently, I was discussing my parents' wills with them. My twin and I don't make that much but we get by. Our other siblings make okay to decent money. My parents told me that they intended to leave the house and a good amount of money to my twin. The rest of us would get equal amounts of everything else. I asked them why they would give so much to the kid who has done nothing but leech off them and never helped when they needed it, despite talking about how he would any other day but conveniently not the day they asked him. They shrugged it off with he's our kid and we know you can't carry him forever with how he's acting, so we might as well give him a safety net. I tried to protest, saying that their final gesture was basically further enabling him. I myself have stopped defending this guy. He is barely hanging by a thread and he needs to learn how to make it on his own. I think this information would just make him smug and complacent. But my parents won't see it my way. I blew up at them saying that they better hope this decision doesn't haunt them in death. Especially because my sister just finished her chemo and is still paying off her medical debt. The amount she and the rest of us are being left would cover some of it but still leave a bit for her to pay off herself. If anyone deserved to have a house and that much money, it's her. My parents later told my other brother their side of what happened and he thinks that although twin sucks, it's ultimately mom and dad's money and house, so it's their choice. I think my frustration at the situation is justified, but I probably should have calmly explained it to my parents. AITA for that outburst. NTA, I personally hate when parents play favorites in wills. It sets up terrible relationships after the last parent passes. I hope they reconsider. I think your parents are pretty awful for worrying more about the financial stability of a healthy moocher than they are about a child struggling to beat cancer. It is their money and they can do anything they want with it, but they look/sound horrible. As long as you were arguing that your sister should get more, due to her vulnerability, and not to increase your own inheritance, NTA, maybe you and your other siblings can donate your portions, or part of your portions, to her in order to help/when the time comes. NTA. Ultimately it is their call, but if they favor one sibling over others, then they can't just expect to be treated as first-class parents by their second-class children. But remember this conversation when they need help in their old day. Really good point. I just hope the inheritance stuff doesn't extend to how they currently treat the daughter fighting cancer. AITA for having my dad's FB account switched to a memorial account. My father died a couple weeks ago and my stepmom decided to use his Facebook account. It was like being kicked in the stomach when I saw a notification that my dad had posted something when he had been dead for almost 2 weeks. This morning, I followed the steps to memorialize his account and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing until it was done. Now she's furious because she can't go tinker with his page. She has her own, so I don't understand why she needs to be in his. She can still go see his stuff and post on his wall. It's worth noting that before all this, she hadn't used Facebook in more than 2 years. Give it to me straight, am I the asshole here? Edit, I did tell her it bothered us. I asked her to use her own page, as she does have one, and she told me she hated Facebook and doesn't want to use it. Yet she used his to sell some of his stuff the day after he died, and posted a comment to my brother's page asking him to call her. She didn't bother to say it was her posting. It was just weird and unsettling. NTA. My mother-in-law passed away 9 years ago and I still get notifications from her page. BC, her sister uses her account for FB games. It really feels like a punch to the gut, even 9 years later. I'm so sorry for your loss. ETA, or thank you for the awards. Or, for games? I'm having trouble wrapping my head around how extra callous that is. NTA, Her tinkering with his page could hurt a lot of your dad's family, not to mention the shock of seeing your deceased relative suddenly being active on social media. It's really not hard to make a socials account, your stepmother should have just done that in the first place. NTA. When my younger brother died, my parents posted something logged in as him, a comment on something, and it was fucking horrible to see. I immediately asked them to not do that, and they understood and stopped. I don't think they've memorialized it, which sucks, but at least he's been dead long enough to stop showing up as name is interested in attending event, because that was upsetting too. You are definitely not the asshole, and I'm so sorry for your loss. NTA. You did the right thing. After someone passed away, their page should be memorialized and no one else should tinker with it. AITA. For writing all my notes in color. Throw away because my friends follow my main. I, F16, had 2 traumatic brain injuries before I was 3, climbed out of my crib at 10 months and fell headfirst onto the tile floor, and when I was 2.5 my aunt fell asleep babysitting me, and my cousin, 3 or 4 at the time, convinced me to sit on this plastic serving tray thing my mom had and slide down the stairs. Didn't work too well and I hit the wall and blacked out, and I have a hard time focusing because of that. I always write my notes with colored gel pens. Each section is a different color and most of my teachers really like it because it helps me focus better, and I write a little key on the top when I'm done, so when I study I can look up what section I need and go to that color. When I need someone like the principal or the dean to sign something, they always ask what color I think they should use. My history teacher saw me writing my notes with my gel pens earlier this year. I'm doing school in person, and asked, "Are you able to read your notes with all those colors?" and I answered that it actually helps keep me engaged and organized, and she left. She started making comments about my notes being in color every time I took notes in class, usually about how it took so much extra time. It really didn't. I have a pouch with all my colored pens and I grab a random one from the pouch, and when I'm done I leave it on my desk. And how it was unprofessional, I didn't turn in my handwritten notes for that class because my handwriting is some weird mix of cursive and print and a little hard to read for some people, so I usually write them in class, then type what I wrote at home and turn in a typed copy, so I don't think it matters if it's professional if I'm not turning it in like that. Today my teacher got fed up with me writing notes in color and banned all colored pens in the class. Now half my class is mad because they would use blue or purple or some other dark colored pens, but their notes would all be solid colors, and now they have to get black pens for this class. Pencils also aren't allowed because we're too old to make mistakes. AITA. For writing my notes in color even though it pissed my teacher off. Edit. For anyone saying I should legally get accommodations for my bus, I go to a private school, so I don't know if they legally have to give me any accommodations. Also, my parents already know about this and my mom is going to the craft store to get me very colorful, very fine tip markers for that class. Update. I went to the dean's office and told him what happened, and he said my teacher has to deal with my pens and told me he'll take care of it. Then in history I got sent to the dean's office for using my pens and he bought me Starbucks and told me not to worry about it. I've been going to this school since kindergarten and my mom taught here for like 15 years, so we're cool. NTA. Have you parents go above the teacher to the principal? This falls under reasonable accommodations for disabilities. I struggle with dyslexia, and when I was in high school over 20 years ago I had colored markers for each class and set of notes. Because the color helped me visualize the words. Carried around a 64 pack. In fact, the only time I got in trouble was when I signed a teacher's yearbook with regular pens instead of my markers. I also had an elaborate system within each subject. Most of my teachers requested my notes at the end of my semesters. A teacher's job is to help a student be successful, not hamper their success. NTA. Your teacher is a nightmare. I'd report them to whatever authorities you can. They have no right to ban you from using colored pens. And the fact that you go above and beyond to type them to turn them in makes it even worse. Your teacher sucks and is TA. If anything, they should praise you for being able to overcome your focusing struggles in a creative way. NTA teachers are there to help you learn. There is no logical reasoning for banning colored ink in class, especially when she knows it helps people like you out. She is just going on a tour de force to show she has power, I guess. Yep, NTA, I advise that you talk to the faculty or someone higher up so they can help resolve this issue. What the heck, NTA? Do you live in the US? If you do, then I feel like your teacher is 140 years old, or they're just crazy. The idea that it's unprofessional to be handing in typed copies instead of handwritten material is absurd. Moreover, I'm not sure why they hung up on you having a special way to organize your notes. Your other teachers like how you take notes because it's actually a pretty regular note-taking strategy, and it's an effective way of organizing things for some people. I think this teacher has some kind of screw loose. TBH. I'm not gonna say how old this teacher is, but she lived through World War II.